and why one agency wants to block it. Then, with Trump and Harris locked in a tight race, how undecided voters are feeling 50 days out from Decision Day.
In past election cycles, I have not been undecided. This would probably be the first time I've been truly undecided, especially this late in the game.
And pop star politics, how celebrity endorsements play a part or don't in presidential elections.
Major funding for PBS News Weekend has been provided by
Consumer Cellular. This is Sam. How may I help you? This is a pocket dial. Well, somebody's pocket.
Thought I'd let you know that with Consumer Cellular,
You get nationwide coverage with no contract. That's kind of our thing.
have a nice day.
and with the ongoing support of these individuals and institutions. And friends of the NewsHour. This program was made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Lisa Desjardins. John Yang is away. The FBI says former President Donald Trump was the subject of an apparent assassination attempt today at his golf club in Palm Beach, Florida. Secret Service agents opened fire on a person with a gun near the spot where Trump was playing golf. His campaign says the former president is safe and back at Mar-a-Lago. After speaking with the former president, Fox host Sean Hannity reported that an AK-47 rifle was found nearby and that Secret Service acted quickly to protect Trump. The agency is investigating. A university in Springfield, Ohio today canceled all planned activities and events after it received an email threatening a potential shooting. A Wittenberg University statement said the threat especially targeted Haitian members of the community. Springfield has come under a microscope after the Trump campaign's claims without evidence of Haitian immigrants eating local pets. On Sunday morning political shows, Republican vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance stood by those false claims. Here on CBS's Face the Nation.
Whatever a local mayor said about this case, I am hearing from dozens of constituents who are concerned about these issues. They are allowed to be concerned about these issues, and I think it's shameful how the American media ignores them.
Vance also was asked about a small rally of right-wing extremist group, the Proud Boys, in Springfield yesterday. He disavowed white supremacy and said the media has the wrong focus.
I am much more concerned about the Vice President of the United States failing to do her job than I am that a dozen people carried the wrong flag when they were marching in Springfield, Ohio yesterday. Let's focus on the real problem. That's the Vice President of the United States not doing her job.
We asked a spokesman for Vance to provide the stories and evidence he says constituents have presented him of animal abuse in and around Springfield. They have not yet responded with those specifics. Rebels in Yemen fired a long-range missile into central Israel today, showing they can get past Israel's multi-tiered air defenses. A spokesman for the Houthi military, who are backed by Iran, took credit for the strike.
The missile force of the Yemeni armed forces, by the grace of God, carried out a special military operation targeting an Israeli military target in the area of Jaffa in occupied Palestine. The operation was executed with a new hypersonic ballistic missile.
The missile landed in a rural area with no injuries reported. Israel said it made several attempts at intercepting the missile and believes it fragmented but did not destroy it. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu responded with strong words.
We are in a multi-front campaign against Iran's axis of evil, which is striving for our destruction. This morning, the Houthis launched a surface-to-surface missile from Yemen into our territory. They should have known by now that we were exacting a heavy price for every attempt to harm us.
Also today, word that 3 of the Israeli hostages found dead months ago were likely killed in Gaza by an Israeli airstrike. The Israeli military made that conclusion in high probability after a months-long investigation. Overnight, at least 8 people died trying to cross the English Channel from northern France in an inflatable boat. Today, French authorities stepped up beach patrols. More than 50 migrants survived the attempted crossing and received medical attention. Earlier this month, a dozen people died when their boat capsized in the channel on the way to Britain. Venezuelan officials have arrested 3 Americans, accusing them of plotting with the CIA to assassinate President Nicolas Maduro. State television announced a total of 6 foreigners were arrested and showed a cache of rifles alleged to be involved. Late yesterday, the U.S. State Department confirmed 1 American military member had been detained, but said any claims of a U.S. plot are categorically false. Maduro was re-elected last month in a disputed election. Still to come on PBS News Weekend, undecided voters tell us what matters as the presidential race heats up. And do celebrities matter? We look at their role in modern politics.
This is PBS News Weekend from WETA Studios in Washington, home of the PBS NewsHour, weeknights on PBS.
What could be the largest grocery store merger in U.S. history is at a do-or-die point, with closing arguments this week in a hearing over whether the deal could harm consumers and raise prices by blocking competition. Kroger's nearly $25 billion purchase of Albertsons would bring together a number of well-known grocery chains under one company, chains like Safeway, Harris Teeter, Ralph's, and Smith's. Earlier this year, the Federal Trade Commission filed a lawsuit to stop the deal, arguing it would eliminate competition. The companies say the merger would actually lower prices, allowing them to compete with industry titans like Walmart, Target, Amazon, and Costco. All this as both 2024 presidential campaigns focus their attention on finding ways to lower food prices that have shot up nearly 30% since 2019. Jacqueline Pizer is the retail reporter at The Washington Post. Jacqueline, give us some context. Where are Kroger and Albertsons, these companies, on the list of grocery chains in this country, and how much space do they occupy?
Yeah, so Kroger is the number 2 in sales for groceries across the country, and Albertsons is about number 4, tied with Amazon, which includes Whole Foods. So they're 2 of the largest grocery chains throughout the entire country, and them combining together would make them still number 2 and still a bit less than Walmart in sales, but they'd still be a pretty big behemoth when it comes to traditional supermarkets.
These are already heavyweight companies. Why do they say that they need to merge to stay profitable?
For them, they see Walmart, they see a lot of other grocery chains that are coming throughout the country. We have Aldi and Lidl, which are a very specific kind of grocery shop, but they're certainly expanding. There's online groceries, there's clubs like Costco and Sam's. And so for them, they're saying, we need to combine forces to better compete with these other grocery chains.
Why is the FTC taking them on? What's their argument?
They're saying that it would eliminate competition, and their definition of a supermarket is very specific, and it only really includes these major chains. They're not counting Costco. They're not really counting Walmart or Amazon. So in their perspective, they're saying by eliminating this competition, it will disincentivize them to lower prices.
And I guess that's one of the questions here. Like, how does the FTC define a supermarket?
Yeah, it's complicated, but for them, they look at it as a one-stop shop kind of shopping experience. So you go to a Safeway and you can go to get a cake for your son's birthday, you can get your medications, you can go to the deli counter, and you can do all in one. But then you look at a Costco and that's a club membership, you have to pay to go in. So they're saying that this is a very unique shopping experience that doesn't really compete in that sense with, say, a dollar store or, a Lidl.
As I said, that is in dispute from the companies. Mm-hmm. But this also brings us to the big topic of grocery prices themselves. What's your reporting on what this merger could mean for grocery prices?
It depends on who you ask. So Kroger and Albertsons are saying, when we combine, we will be lowering grocery prices. From day one, they're investing $1 billion into lowering the price of food. But the FTC is saying, well, not necessarily. They're combining forces. They don't have much competition, so why would they want to lower prices? But Kroger and Albertsons are saying, well, we need to be able to compete with Walmart. We need to be able to compete with Costco. And so the only way we can do that is by coming together, having more leverage over our suppliers, being able to have more efficient, production, supply chain, all of that.
some people who reporters and others like yourself are asking are the workers, because we certainly know that they would be affected. I hear that idea of more efficient management, as they're saying. Often that means cutting jobs. I want to play the words of a grocery store worker, a mom of two, who is now thinking about a former merger that she participated in when she was with Albertsons.
One minute you have this job security that you've had for 24 years, and now you're needing to pivot to what am I going to do next, and how am I going to make money, and how am I going to support my family, how am I going to pay rent. I mean, initially when I started in the industry, there was multiple grocery stores. There was Hughes, Vaughn's, Albertsons, Ralph's, Safeway, all in Southern California. Now we're down to 2 companies.
And we received a statement from the union representing grocery store workers, the UFCW, opposing the merger. How did the companies respond when workers say, we're nervous, this means our jobs, our livelihoods, and our community on the line?
Well, Kroger likes to say they're one of the only union shops that are left in grocery. And they said they've agreed to the collective bargaining agreements, that they are really good for unions, that those agreements are going to continue after the merger happens. But the workers are concerned. They're saying, having these 2 companies go up against each other is a really good way for them to get a better bargaining agreement. So they can threaten strikes. They can, look at the Albertsons across the street and say, hey, these guys got a great deal. We're the Kroger over here. We want an equally good deal. And not having that leverage anymore could, negatively affect them getting a better deal, better wages. But Kroger is saying, we're investing $1.3 billion in better wages, better benefits. So both sides have different views on it.
The decision here will be made by a judge. This is really a preliminary injunction, but why is it the case that the companies say that this decision actually could seal their fates?
Yeah, so the Kroger attorney during his opening argument said to the judge, if you allow this injunction, then we are done. The merger is done. They announced this merger in 2022, so it's been a long time. So for them, the time is running out.
They're not going to spend more time in
No,
this.
yeah.
Jacqueline Pizer from the Washington Post, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Less than 2 months until the election, and we can hear the candidates' voices nearly every day. But what about voters? Since June, the NewsHour has followed a group of undecided voters from across the country and across the political spectrum. In our latest installment of the Deciders series, we found some movement and a lot of thoughts.
My name is Stephen Beck, and I'm from Madison, Alabama. In past election cycles, I have not been undecided. This would probably be the first time I've been truly undecided, especially this late in the game.
My name is Jessica Dalton. I'm from Salt Lake City, Utah. Undecided, I think, is too vague of a term. I've always been open to listen to what each candidate has to offer and making my decision based on who the candidate is rather than what the party is offering.
I'm Zach Warren, and I'm 35 years old, based in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. I'm one of those voters that does wait to the last second. I remember even back to like 2008 and 2012 and 16, I always wake up on election day and make that choice because there's a lot of things that can happen between now and November.
My name is Stephen Stone. I'm in Brooklyn. I have to choose between Kamala or just not voting for the president in this election.
I'm Robert Lilly. I'm from Wickenburg, Arizona. I typically don't decide, and for sure, I'm not 100% until election time.
My name is Anna, and I live in the suburb of Phoenix, Arizona. Before the debate, I was already against Trump. That's not happening. I don't trust either of them as commander-in-chief or even as necessarily head of government.
I would say that neither lived up to my expectations. One of the things that I had difficulty with throughout the entire debate was the lack of specifics.
It seems like a race to the bottom. More than anything, it's not about anybody having any sort of real ideology and the concerns of the majority of American people's at heart. It felt very much about just being better than your competitor.
She went in for the handshake. That actually meant something to me. I think civility is going to be the number one thing. We have to get back to that before we can get back to anything else.
What was interesting and not surprising from Donald Trump was how easily he was baited into getting his ego hurt.
There's just too many lies told by Kamala Harris in the debate. and I expect that to go on.
She did a fantastic job during that debate. I thought that there was some policy depth that was offered. I did feel when I was watching it that they did question him more than they questioned her on some things.
I expected them to say what they said. I would have appreciated additional specifics. I'm sure that in the coming months, I'll be able to do some more additional research. I'll take some time to look and examine that more closely.
After watching Harris come into the debate and how she handled herself, there's no question in my mind that I will be voting for Harris and Walz.
I'm holding out hope and believing that potentially some of these other movements, these leftist movements, again, the Green Party to move her more left as opposed to the right. It does not feel good. At best, I would be holding my nose to vote for Kamala.
Not knowing enough about her is part of the indecisiveness as far as who I'm going to vote for at this point.
Donald Trump, I see as just a much lesser of two evils. And so that's the man I had to vote for.
These are not easy decisions to make. They touch on so many aspects of our lives, and they don't just affect us individually, they affect us globally.
Leading up to Election Day, I'm looking forward to Vice President Harris and Governor Walz speaking more to their economic policies, specifically their small business initiatives. I think those are very important, as well as childcare. I think those go hand in hand, and their stance on women's health care.
I wish I could vote for my values in this election. I'll still be voting because there's a lot of down ballot votes that are important to me, as you know, there should be to everyone.
Not voting is never an option. That is my privilege as an American citizen. People have laid down their lives for that, and I will vote in every election that I'm asked to vote in.
As divisive as it is, I still think that I still have like this belief that we're going to be okay and that we're going to do the right thing and that things are going to be all right.
Pop culture and politics have a history of crossover, and these intersections take on new significance during an election year, when campaigns jockey for endorsements from the entertainment industry's biggest stars, hoping their candidate will latch onto mainstream pop momentum. This summer, it was the fluorescent Kamala is Brat phenomenon, a meme started by British singer Charlie XCX on social media and then echoed by the Harris campaign and voters across platforms. 100 years earlier, when viral was not a good thing, a different kind of celebrity endorsed the country's 29th president, Warren G. Harding. Vaudeville movie star and singer Al Jolson wrote a song especially for him. Harding, you're the man for us.
And Mr. Harding, we've selected you. So it's Harding, lead the GOP.
The idea hit, and by 1960, another superstar, Frank Sinatra, sang of his high hopes for a John F. Kennedy presidency.
Everyone is voting for Jack, 'cause he's got what all the rest lack.
Sinatra's Rat Pack mate, Sammy Davis Jr., threw his weight behind Richard Nixon, and the celebrity role was locked in. Boxing legend Muhammad Ali endorsed Ronald Reagan, a celebrity actor in his own right. In 2008, it was Oprah, a beloved multimedia icon, making her first political endorsement for Barack Obama. You ready to vote for Hillary? 8 years later, pop stars Katy Perry and Demi Lovato backed Hillary Clinton. The 2024 presidential race is no different. On the last night of the Republican convention in Milwaukee, singer Kid Rock kicked off a big-name lineup. A few minutes later, retired wrestler Hulk Hogan ripped off his shirt to reveal a Trump-Vance logo. Just a few weeks later, rapper Lil Jon strode into the Democrats' convention in Chicago, one of a bevy of celebrity endorsements. Actress Eva Longoria and singers Pink and Stevie Wonder lent their voices to the Harris-Walz ticket, the latest in generations of stars giving shine to politicians. But how important are these celebrity endorsements, and do they actually make a difference in changing voters' minds? Earlier this week, I spoke with Mark Harvey, author of Celebrity Influence, Politics, Persuasion, and Issue-Based Advocacy, to help answer that question. Mark, we're going to talk about whether celebrity, their factor in a race, makes any difference at all. But first, I want to switch this around. Why do celebrities do this? What's in it for them to get involved in politics?
Well, that's a really complicated question. First of all, I think you could say that, many of them just have the same impetus as any of us would be. That is, maybe they feel very strongly about an issue and they just want to share. Taylor Swift, for example, for a long time wasn't involved in politics, but then she claimed that she got involved because she wanted to be on the right side of history. And so there's that individual aspect. However, there's always a risk when they get involved in that taking one side or another may also alienate some of their core fan base.
We mentioned a major celebrity in this story, Oprah. Major celebrity, of course. What do we know about exactly how her endorsement mattered for Barack Obama? And is she the rule or is she the exception?
As far as what we know, she's the exception to the rule. That's not to say that celebrities don't make a difference at all. It's just difficult to measure. However, in this specific case, we can demonstrate that Oprah Winfrey probably made the difference in maybe 1 million votes or so in the Democratic primary back in 2007 to 2008 that brought Barack Obama to become the candidate.
And we know that was a very close primary. Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama went back and forth in the early days. How did she make a difference? What was it that she did? Was it just the fact that people admired her?
Yes, I think that's a lot to do with it. She has a certain amount of gravitas. She already had the so-called Oprah effect, where she could endorse a book and suddenly everybody's reading it. And so she really had that kind of unique credibility at that particular moment.
You have said that celebrity endorsements really work when the endorsement kind of matches some aspect of their profile, that there could potentially be a mismatch. What exactly does that mean? When does this work? When does it fail?
Well, let me just give you an example maybe to put things in context, right? There was a study done a number of years ago with Jessica Simpson, well, about Jessica Simpson anyway. And the question is, what is she able to sell? And what the study indicated is that she was quite good at selling perfume, not good at all at selling pocket knives. And so a lot of this really has to do with image, like what kind of, and it's sort of an evasive and elusive thing, but what makes this particular person match up with this product? That's true for sales of product, but I also would argue it's probably true in terms of selling an issue or selling a candidate.
Well, how does that apply to politics?
Here's a good example. We talked about how Taylor Swift recently endorsed Kamala Harris. What would happen if she had instead endorsed Donald Trump? I know that seems a little bit far-fetched given her predisposition, the way that she stands on certain issues, and we know how she feels about Donald Trump.
I'm sure Donald Trump thought about this very question.
Exactly, and in fact, he created an AI image to try to make it look like, or at least rebroadcast an AI image that suggested that maybe she did support him. But that's the thing. All you have to do is watch the Era Tours movie or follow Taylor Swift in the smallest amount, and you realize that she's not a Donald Trump person. And so there's a break in credibility when somebody does something that just seems against character for that person.
Now, in your book, you specifically look at issues advocacy. Is there a set of issues that really seem to get more traction from a celebrity assist and some that don't?
Absolutely. So the ones that are where a celebrity is most likely to be persuasive are those ones that are sort of in the middle that people aren't 100% committed to yet. So maybe certain foreign policy issues at times, there's a whole host of issues where maybe if they're not too solid, there's some room. But if you look at other issues like, say, gun control, the death penalty, abortion, people are really set in on those issues, and Taylor Swift is not going to be able to persuade you that it's time to give up your guns.
I know you mentioned a study where people talked about foreign policy and said, what if a celebrity could influence you on that? And the answer in that study was yes. I want to ask you in terms of the voting groups we're talking about, though. Are there different age groups that are more influenced by celebrities? And are these the same groups that vote in large numbers?
Yes. Well, a lot of research suggests that maybe young people are more influenced by celebrity. In my research, there was no correlation, that it really didn't matter what the age group was. There wasn't any sort of connection that I could find anyway in terms of age group. There's some recent research, in fact, some stuff that I've done. We just did a survey a month ago with 1,000 respondents that suggested maybe fandom has a lot to do with it. That is, you have to not only know about the celebrity, but care about the celebrity in order for that celebrity to be influential.
Mark Harvey, thank you so much.
You are welcome.
And an update. A potential suspect has been taken into custody in what the FBI is calling an apparent assassination attempt of former President Donald Trump at his golf course in West Palm Beach, Florida. Officials say Secret Service spotted a gunman and engaged him while Trump was 400 to 500 yards away. Authorities seized a backpack with an AK-47 rifle with a scope. The FBI is now in the lead in the investigation. The former president is safe and unharmed. And that is it for our program tonight. I'm Lisa Desjardins. For all my colleagues, thank you for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.
Major funding for PBS News Weekend has been provided by and with the ongoing support of these individuals and institutions. This program was made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
You're watching PBS.